Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Thank you and welcome back to James DIY Garage. I'm James and behind me is my 2014 Maserati Ghibli SQ4. Today the car has almost 80,000 miles on it and it's time to change the transmission fluid. This video can apply to not just the Maserati Ghibli but also the 2017 and newer Levante and the 2013 and newer Quattroporte, because they all use the same transmission. So let me show you what you're going to need as far as tools and supplies to get the job done. First off, it's a good idea to have a jacking system that will keep the car on level. The car needs to be level to do this job. I went and bought the quick jack system. But what I have done in the past is I have jacked the car up from the mounts with a floor jack one at a time, and put ramps underneath the front tires, or underneath well, I only had 2 ramps. Put ramps underneath the 2 front tires, which would lift the front end up. I'd set the car down on the ramps. I would have to face the ramps backwards so that the down ramp points forward, because if you do it that way, the jack can't get to the jack point. So you put the car down on the ramps with the ramp part facing forward, as if you backed up on it. You'll need 4 jacks if you want to keep your car level, 1 for each corner. So that's just another way to jack your car up level. 4 ramps is a lot cheaper than the quick jack system. So if you have a floor jack plus 4 ramps, you can do this job. Now I'm going to show you the tools that you're going to need and the supplies to do this job. The first thing you're going to need is this. This is a 6mm hex bit. You're going to need this to pull a drive shaft. Oh, by the way, yes, since my car is an SQ4, it has a front drive shaft, and that drive shaft is too close to the fill plug. So you can't get to the fill plug unless you pull the drive shaft. Well, you don't have to pull the whole drive shaft. You just have to undo the back end closest to the transmission, pull it forward and lift it up a little bit so that you can get to the fill plug with the hex bit and pull the bolts off. I put marks on the drive shaft and the drive shaft so I know how it went. I know how it went on. And I can put it, it came off, and I can put it on the same way it came off. You'll need an 8mm hex bit. This is for the fill plug. You'll need a T40 Torx. This is for the oil pan bolts. You'll need a 10mm hex bit. This is for the drain plug in the oil pan. It's good to have an assortment of ratchets and breaker bars and universal joints. The universal joint is, I'm going to use that because the front bolts that go around the oil pan are almost, they're just under the edge of the bottom engine cover. You can remove the bottom engine cover and you won't need this, but I think it's probably just easier to use this, so you don't have to remove the bottom engine cover. You're going to need an OBD2 scanner. This is my BAFX OBD2 diagnostics interface scanner. I use an app, Torx. You guys don't see this, so I'm going to enter my password. There we go. Close that. Torx. There you go. Torque. Yeah, this is the app that I use to connect to this. You're going to need 8 quarts of ZF Lifeguard Fluid 8. I don't remember what I paid for these, but it was a little bit expensive. You'll need one of these to make it easier quicker to remove the oil pan bolts. You'll need a hand pump so that you can pump the fluid back in. Now, if you have a mechanical pump, that's cool too. That'll just make it faster. But I elected to buy this. It was only 10 bucks. You also need, of course, an oil pan. Contains the oil filter, and it comes with hardware, including a fill plug, a new fill plug. You'll need some rags, some gloves. Also, you'll need a suitable container to drain the fluid into. I like to use a graded cup or something so that I can measure how much came out of the transmission, so I know when I'm putting the fluid back in, I know precisely how much. Well, I know that I put at least what came out back in. It should take the whole 8 quarts, but we'll see. There's usually still quite a bit left in the torque converter and that when you drain the oil pan. And you'll need some suitable containers to store the oil in until you have a chance to bring it to the local dump, or however else you plan to dispose of the fluid. So now we're going to get started. First thing we need to do is start removing the bolts on that drive shaft. Here's the drive shaft. Here's the fill plug right here. You can see you can't get to the fill plug unless we remove this drive shaft. I've already put marks here. Turn the tire. If you can see the marks, there's 2 here. I got another one marked with 1 mark. There's only 3 of these plates here. There's plates here. Let me take one off and I'll show you. Okay, can you hold the steering wheel? Can you hold the wheel, Julius?
Holding.
Thank you, son. That's tightening. There we go. One.
15 minutes later.
So I got a mark, 1 mark on that one. That other one I had 2 marks on it, so that I know. One doesn't have any marks on it. And that's this one here. This one didn't have any marks on it, so I know that where these go. I should be able to pull it, pry it. I gotta get a pry tool. Didn't need a pry tool. Okay, so you can see how the drive shaft came off. You just pulled forward and put it back on, slide it back on there like that. So you just pull back on it and it comes off. So now we're gonna get now we can get to the drain plug here. So, or the fill plug, I mean. We can get to the fill plug in order to remove the cap. So, I've got my drain container here just in case some comes out. Oh yeah, fluid's coming out, pouring out. It's coming. I didn't know it'd make that noise, but it's coming. There it goes. Whew, let's let that drain for a bit. There we go. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start removing all those bolts. I'm going to get underneath it to do that. Push it forward so that we'll clear this bracket there, the cross member here, and then tilted it down so that the fluid will drain from the pan into here. And we had some draining from here that got on the floor. I held the pan underneath it temporarily, cleaned the floor up, and moved the drain pail over here so that it'll drain into there. And we got the pan off. So let's take a look at the pan, magnets in that, and see what we come up with. See what kind of see if you see any shavings or anything like that. Okay, here's the old pan. This is the new pan. Taking a look at these magnets here. Fingers. The magnets look pretty good. I don't see any maybe just a little bit. But there's no big shavings in here. This is all normal. All very normal. Now we need to do is take a bottle of the ZF and we need to coat this O-ring here with new fluid before we put the pan back on. We also need to clean the underside of the wipe the underside of the where the oil pan is going to be mounted. We need to wipe that down, make sure it's all clean with a lint-free cloth. So let's get to that. Okay, I went ahead and measured how much went out. 130 ounces, or about almost 4 liters came out. Okay, as you can see, I've already wiped off the surface here where the oil pan's gonna go, and I've got my torque guide right here. It's gonna be this one here with the 13 bolts. There, you can see better now. So, and it's supposed to be torqued to 10 Newton meters, which isn't very much. It's about it's just under 8 foot-pounds. I'm going to use 8 foot-pounds, but it's 7.8 something foot-pounds. My torque wrench won't go that. My torque wrench won't go that granular, so I can do 8 foot-pounds. Since it's closer to 8 than it is 7. Here's my torque wrench. Here's my new oil pan. I've already oiled up this O-ring here. And I've got my new hardware. I've got to reach over you here, sorry. Right here. Here's my new hardware in a plastic bag. Got my hardware here all ready to go. My drain plug. Here's my fill plug here. Oops. We are ready to put the pan on. Got to make sure that O-ring seals right over there. There we go. Think it went in right. Take it by hand. Snug it down. Let's get them all on. I'm not going to tighten them down just yet. I gotta follow the torque sequence. Okay, now for torquing. Now we need to look at our torque sequence here. Don't just go torquing them. Gotta look at the torque sequence. Alright, now that I got my glasses and I can read this, I can see what I'm supposed to torque. So, we'll start off with 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do those 4 first. So, start off with the one in the middle. Torque this one down. There. That's it.
15 minutes later.
Okay, go ahead.
Eventually.
Hold. Coming up. Put the drain plug in. Put the 8mm hex back in. And you're just going to tighten this down. So it doesn't leak. We filled it till it overflowed. We put about 2 3/4 liters in. So when we start it up, we wait till it gets to a certain temperature. So here are the instructions to fill. Prerequisites: limp home mode deactivated. I don't know what that means, but my car's not limping, so. Vehicle lighting, air conditioner, and electronic consumers are switched off. Okay, I'll make sure that's off. The vehicle is in a horizontal position on a platform. It is. Got my quick checks. Selector lever to park. Parking brake is engaged. It is. testing device to read transmission oil temperature is connected. Okay, well we'll go ahead and, that's my OBD here. We'll go ahead and put that in before we start the engine. Okay, we opened the fill hole. We filled the transmission up until it started to fill out. Then we started the engine. Then we put more fluid in until it started to fill out. It took another quart and a half after that. So far it's taken a total of about 4.5 quarts. Drive it until it's about 75 degrees. It already was, because I checked the temperature on the OBD when I came up here, and it was 86 degrees Celsius. So the cooler will have opened up. So if there is one present. So now, after we let it cool down a bit, because we have to let it cool down because it's got to be between 30 and 50 degrees Celsius. So I have to let my transmission fluid cool down quite a bit. But once it's cooled down, then I can start the engine again. And if it's between there, then I'm gonna maintain the speed at 2,000 RPM for about 30 seconds. Let engine idle. Check transmission temperature if it's still within 30 to 50 degrees Celsius. Select position park, reverse, drive manually, shift D1, D2. Hold each gear for approximately 10 seconds, then check the temperature. Make sure it's still between 30 and 55. If not, let it cool down. If it's over 50 degrees, each one of these steps has you shut the engine off, let it cool down. So after we do the gears, if the engine temperature is between 30 and 50 degrees, we open the fill hole while the engine's running. And then, does oil run out of the engine hole? If no, then we fill it with Lifeguard until it runs out. If yes, wait until only single drops comes from the hole. Close the fill screw plug and then check transmission for leaks. So that's where the point we're at. We're waiting for the engine to cool down. While we're waiting for the engine to cool down, I'm gonna go get something to eat. I'm hungry. You know, I was thinking, since this is an SQ4 all-wheel drive, it's got a transfer case, and I currently have the front drive shaft disconnected. When I start the engine and I do the process where I have to put it into drive and shift it through 1 and 2 and then go into reverse, that transfer case is going to spin. I don't want it to spin. I'm going to step on the brakes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the front drive shaft, mount the front drive shaft back up again. I'm not going to torque the bolts down, but I'll snug them down so that we don't see anything, nothing spinning back there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll be right back.
The next morning.
Well, welcome back. It is a new day, and I'll explain why it went into 2 days. Well, one reason is because I'm doing a video on this, and if I wasn't setting the camera up and checking my videos all the time to see where I left off, I would have had this done in 1 day. But since I'm taking a video of it and so I can share it with you guys at the same time of doing the work itself, it is taking me extra long to do the job. All of my jobs take longer because I'm videotaping them. So the reason it's a new day is because transmission fluid takes a long time to cool down. So when I left it at about 8 o'clock last night, the temperature was still at 72 degrees, which means, 52 degrees Celsius, which means I still can't do the next procedure in the fill-up. So I said, well, I guess we're gonna have to do it tomorrow. The requirements are the temperature of the fluid needs to be between 30 degrees and 50 degrees Celsius before you can go on to this next procedure in filling the transmission or checking the transmission fluid to make sure it's full. This is the next procedure. I've already filled it and until the fluid came out. Last night I also put the drive shaft back on, and so that I can put it into the gears, and that's what I'm going to do next. I chatted with a certified Maserati technician last night and about the next procedure and whether he felt I should go through the gears. And he says I don't necessarily have to do that. That's more if you have removed the transmission and disassembled it, then there'll be more air in it. But since I already put the drive shaft on, I'm gonna go ahead and go through the process anyhow. I have to wait for the engine to warm up, so that's the next process that I'm gonna do. Here you can see the transmission fluid temperature before I even start the engine is 27 degrees Celsius. The next step is to start the engine and wait until that reads 30 degrees Celsius. Once that reaches 30 degrees Celsius, then I rev the engine to 2000 RPM for 30 seconds. Then I let the engine idle again, and then I put the engine in gear. I put it into reverse, count to 10. Put it into drive, count to 10. Hit manual, pull the up lever once for second, count to 10. Put it back in park. Check the temperature before you shut the engine down. If it's still within 30 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius, we're good, because we have to go underneath the car and disconnect the drive shaft again so that we can get to the filler plug and undo the filler plug again. And we ended up at 51 degrees Celsius. Okay, we're ready to do the last part in this process. Check the fluid level. We have to start the engine and then pull this cap once the engine's running. And if any fluid drains out, we're good. If nothing drains out, then we have to add. I'm ready to add here. Okay? That's the plan. Okay, Sid? Go ahead and put your foot on the brake and then push the start button. Okay, it's good. time getting the thing back in. Huh?
Nearing 50.
Okay. Go ahead and shut the engine down, Ted.
Okay. It's at 50.
Okay, thank you. Fuck, a lot came out. That's okay. You put a lot in, didn't you?
You told me to pump.
Yep. And you did a good job, son. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're done. Okay. You saw a bunch of fluid come out when it was running. And I put the cap back on because this thing has a cooler. So you should have a little bit left in there. You should have some in there. But it's also the Maserati mechanic technician also said it's better to have a little bit more in there than a little bit less. So I'm gonna call that fluid level good. I'm gonna torque this sucker up. 35. The torque here is 35 Newton meters. There's 35 Newton meters. Okay. There. Get the double ones. Get the double ones in there. Start them up with your fingers. You can turn the steering or turn the wheel here, the front wheel, and it turns the drive shaft so you can get to the next one. Okay. That's set. And the torque on these is 35 Newton meters as well. Let's see if holding. Nope. Nope. I gotta figure out a way to stop this thing from spinning. Julius, can you give me a screwdriver? Give me a flathead screwdriver.
We're here.
Thank you, son. Gotta figure out a way to keep this thing from turning. I like torque. That's a good idea. Let's see how it goes. That works. One. To see what I'm doing to keep it from turning is I'm just sticking it between the nuts like this, and what it's doing is that's stopping it from turning. So I just torqued this one here. So let's torque this one here. And then, yeah, I torqued this one here. So let's torque this one here. On the wheel. There's that one. And I think that was the last one. I believe so. I think so. This has already been torqued, I believe. So I'll just check the torques on them. There's one. 2. Three. 4. 6 or 5, I mean, and one more 6. There's 6. 6. Oops. Got my flashlight. And let's just hit this one for shits and giggles. Make sure I didn't lose count. Very good. Okay. Drive shaft is back on and torque. 35 millimeters. Okay. Now what we do is we inspect for leaks. Actually, what I'm going to do, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to run the engine for a little bit. Not worry about the temperature of the thing, but I'm going to run the engine a little bit. Or maybe oh no, here's what I'll do. I'm going to put the car down and take it for a drive. See how it shifts. Yeah, let the car warm up. We're at operating temperature now, so I can put it in manual. And I'm gonna go this way instead. Have a little bit of fun. After having done this once, if I didn't have to do it on video, I'd be able to get this done all in one day. Hey, she shifts pretty good. Let's put it in auto mode and see how she shifts in auto mode. Take it out of manual. So good. Oops. Seems to be driving good. I can hear downshift. I have it in sport mode, so. Just go ahead and put it back in manual mode. I'm going to take off here. That's when I make my turn. I do it after I make my turn because really, while I'm making the turn, cross the river. Going through all the gears, I'm up to 8. 7, 6, 7, 8. Shifts perfect. Car's not complaining, no lights. Shifts a lot smoother. When I shift from first to second before, there was a jerk. There's no more jerk. It shifts nice and smooth now. Okay, put the car up on the lift, did a look for leaks, didn't find any leaks at all, nothing. Pan was bone dry, so we're done. And that's all been QA'd and ready to go. Fortunately, you only have to do this every 70,000-80,000 miles. The most time-consuming part of this job is waiting for the transmission fluid to calm down, to cool off, so that you can go on to the next step after you've already put fluid in it. Again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. If you like watching DIY videos on Maserati Ghiblis, please consider subscribing. Leave me a comment and like this video. It gets me up in the ratings. Thank you so much for watching. And now, well, I already had my paddle time. I'm gonna go hit the pool. It's 100 degrees out. Bye.